Okay, I guess,
Um, uh, I will thank you for doing this, Barbara, and everyone. This is Barbara Bailey Porter. You can see her website right there on the
mm,
screen. And if not, let me know. You can also ask her questions. She does not mind, or if you don't want to, you can put it in the chat and I will be happy to
read it. Yeah,
regurgitate that.
yes.
I don't see a screen with the
You have to tap on the bottom of your screen maybe,
oh,
and then all the options come up.
oh, okay. Got it.
There's
Thank
a
you.
chat, and if you push the chat, there's a list of the chat on the side.
Yeah,
List.
And you can close and your audio you can open and close when you if you want to
right,
ask the
right.
questions.
Yeah, because I'm kind of limited here. If I click on my my picture, then my whole slideshow goes away. So I can't click on
Yeah,
any.
so just if you need to ask a question, you can unmute yourself or you can put it in the chat and I can ask her. But
Yeah,
otherwise, please keep your microphone muted so there's not a lot of noise.
yeah, just
Okay.
background noise. Okay.
All right, so I'm going to turn this over to Barbara and she's going to give us a couple of slideshows and a little demo thing.
Yeah, I have a video at the end if we have time. I just wanted to start off by, of course, thank you guys, Jolene and the group, for having me. It's an honor. And also, I thought it would be relevant to start with a little bit about my history and how I came to paint abstract. So before, some of you might remember, before Proposition 13, that happened in the 70s. I grew up in Watsonville, so I was taking adult night classes. They used to have them at the high school. And I took from a very well-known plein air painter in town. His name was John Blanchette. I didn't realize it at the time. I was only 17. I learned later that he was very well known. And he had a stroke while, in the middle of the class. I took for 4 years anyway from that group. And all we did was paint still lifes. So this first slide is actually a still life, only to indicate that I painted still lifes for a long time. This isn't what I actually painted. I painted this years and years later, but maybe from the 25 years ago or so, 2000 or so. And then after I had a baby in there, so I couldn't really go to classes anymore. And after that, and till my daughter was older, then in the 80s, I started taking with, well, this one is from Cabrillo College, Dave McGuire. He's was a very well-known watercolorist. Studied with him for a long time. And also with portrait painting with Anne, she goes by Hannah now, Hannah Dalby. She lives in Corlitas. She lived in Bonnie Doon at the time, but she taught me how to portrait paint. I didn't do landscape painting until I got into college up at UCSC and started doing landscape painting. Did that for quite a few years. That was 19, let me see, it was 19, right at the earthquake time, 89. So it was 1989, I started painting landscapes. I was doing still lifes from 1972 to 1976 or so, and then progressed. And then I learned landscapes in college and cityscapes. I went and taught. I went to graduate school at the Academy of Art College in San Francisco, learned cityscape painting, taught myself, palette knife painting. So that's with the palette knife. And then this is from my demos that I teach. I taught, this started actually was this was a palette knife painting demo that I taught during COVID online through the Santa Cruz Art League. I think it was through the Art League. Sometimes I taught through the Art League. Sometimes I just taught through my my own group of students. So I taught landscape painting while I was doing this cityscape. I taught cityscape painting too, and I worked at the academy. Let me see. I think I graduated in 93 or 4, and I worked there until 2001 or 2 or 3, something like that. So I didn't teach cityscape at the Academy of Art College. I taught um, still life painting because it was a foundation class for all the different arts in the college, like fashion designers and computer arts. They all had to take a still life painting class, which they didn't really like, but but I taught it anyway, and I felt comfortable just teaching that. So yeah, my Zoom classes, these were the first Zoom classes I was teaching. Then I started during COVID too. I started experimenting with abstract landscape. Actually, not just during COVID. I pretty much I pretty much for quite a few years had abstract ideas in my head and abstract landscapes, and I did a lot of I think that I called them conceptual landscapes. I did quite a few of those.
How did you, I think it's a progression personally, I went to China and they said that it's like the circle, wherever you get it in the circle, you'll go around. And do you feel
Yeah.
it was a natural progression to go into abstraction?
Yeah, it was because I thought abstractly when I was teaching. This is too super. I mean, I think there's a lot of abstract qualities in this and in this, because I think I thought as I was even painting representationally, I was thinking abstractly, and I was always, I mean, these are all pretty loose. This is a great big huge painting. It doesn't look real loose here, but it's a pretty loose painting. This one is pretty loose. So that's my granddaughter, Rosie, by the way. When she was 9, she's now 30. So I was all, it was a natural progression. And I think it's important too for people to learn, even if you start off painting abstract, I think it's important to learn some of the basics about, representational work, about shadow, light, and depth, and warm, cool edges are really important. I spent a lot of time considering edges and talking about edges when I taught. The difference between, well, I was pointing to something, but you can't see my finger, that like the edge of this cliff on the left-hand side, the difference between that edge and maybe the edge on the top of the barn thing is blended. I mean, edges are, to me, edges are pretty important, and I spent a lot of time contemplating them and doing them, perfecting them, and making it work. So then I had a whole bunch of stuff happen in my life. My mother died, my brother died. This was actually right before COVID anyway. Within a month, my brother died first, then my mother died. Then my daughter had problems with some of her children. They came to live with me. Then I had some other family things happen, and then COVID happened. And believe it or not, this lifetime painter who the first time I painted I was 10, it was oil paint, and it was a paint by number. This old girl lost the whole desire to paint. And it was a biggest creative crisis. I was still creative. I feel like I was crocheting and I did a little bit of collage, but I had no motivation to paint. But I was teaching part of that time, and that was my only lifeline to continue to paint, because I was teaching painting, and I didn't tell everybody I'm going through a crisis, but I was. And some people that are here might even not know that, but I was teaching and going through a crisis. So I didn't do open studios. I've done open studios for 28 years. I stopped doing open studios. Well, COVID, they canceled it anyway. Santa Cruz County has a huge open studios tour, and then
I get the best and I've ever been. Yeah.
It's amazing. We have 350 artists now, I think, that are juried in, and I stopped doing that, and for 3 more years, and cried a lot. I spent a lot of time crying. I have a friend that does astrology charts, which, not that I'm a big believer in any of that, but it couldn't hurt. So she wanted to do my chart. So she comes over. It was November of 2022. She wants to come over and do my chart. So she comes over and does my chart. She goes, "Barbara, don't worry about it." I'm crying the whole time because I'm so upset that I have no motivation to paint. She goes, don't worry, it's going to change. All your planets, see this? All your planets are aligned, and this is going to change, and you're going to come out of this, and everything's going to be okay. Honest, I promise. And that was in November of 2022. In March 1st of 2023, I woke up and stood up from bed and said to myself, I'm going to get a studio. And that's how I came out of it. That was just one day. It was just, I'm ready. And
Did you go out and rent one, or what did you do?
I made some phone calls to an old landlord, because I've had several different studios around town. The one landlord he was a property manager of a big complex in Aptos. That now there's a lot of artists in it. There wasn't when I was there 25 years ago, but I asked him if there's any room there. He said, no, there's a waiting list. And so I said, okay, well, put me on the waiting list. And then he called me a couple days later and said, you know what, I have something that might fit for you. How big, what are you looking for? And I said, I don't care, whatever you got, at least 400 square feet, I think. So he had us someplace, and this is where I am right now, which is like 4 or 5 blocks from my house. It's a little too small for me. I'm outgrowing it. I'm painting myself into a corner, but it works, and it's close to home, and I'm probably going to have to rent a storage soon for these big paintings, because I've been painting big. But yeah, I found a studio and I started painting, and this is what I started painting. Back to still life flowery stuff. I did a lot of flowers when I did still lifes, of course, but I told myself, what the heck? I'm just going to paint whatever I want to paint, because I was at an age, this was in 2023, so 2 years ago. I've only been here about March to June, not even 2.5 years. And my income when I was doing open studios, raising kids, my family was dependent on my income selling paintings and at my studio. So I had my studio, it was and I taught a lot, and I had a big studio, like sometimes 1,200 square feet or more. And I don't know how I found them. They were affordable though. And I did landscape painting, and it's much, much easier to make a living at landscape painting than it is abstract painting. Yeah. Or still life painting, or any other painting, portrait painting. Well, you could do commissions, I guess. I did that for a while, portrait commissions, but landscape painting is, much more marketable. But I was at a time in my life where I hadn't done open studios, and I hadn't painted for 4 years. So obviously didn't need to have the income to pay my bills, right? So I said, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. And I started just messing up some canvases. A lot of this is with enamel paint, because I wanted something.
You can chime in, Lynn.
Pardon me?
Somebody's raising their.
Oh, somebody's raising.
Unmute.
Yeah, unmute yourself and please talk. Yes, please ask questions.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so this work, I wanted something. I love oil paint. I do paint in acrylic and watercolor, as you saw, and pastels, but I really wanted to stay with oil, but I wanted something that dried faster, even though I use a quick dry medium. So I explored enamel paint, just house paint, the enamel.
Oh, yeah.
It's oil-based paint, and it doesn't come in gallons. It came in these little.
Is that purchased just like at the hardware store?
Yeah, like at the hardware store, yeah. But it's got huge fumes, like you can imagine.
Oh.
That's what these two have, a mixture of oil paint and the enamel. All those drips are from the enamel. It doesn't have the body that oil paint has. So
do you do that first and then oil over, or can you do it simultaneously?
You can do it, yes, simultaneously. You can do both back and forth, yeah. And sometimes I would start with acrylic, but honestly, there was no planning in this. I would just slap on some paint and see where it took me. And that was just such freedom for me, because, I always had reference material when I was painting everything else, like portraits.
That was my next question. Do you just paint intuitively?
Yeah, it's all intuitive. There's no reference material. I just painted. And so
did you have an idea, or
I didn't have an idea starting out. And then as I saw shapes, then I kind of ideas formed. I did some
You kind
other,
of just made marks until you saw something.
that's right, that's right. And I had some before they came into flowers that were much more abstract and non-objective type, fully abstract. You couldn't recognize anything. And then I did some with mostly all abstract with an object. Like my banana tree started blooming that summer, 2023, and I'd never had a banana tree bloom. So I would incorporate that, a drawing of that blossom in some. Then I broke my wrist and I painted my hand and my wrist in it, you know, those little things. But I would just put them in an abstract painting. It didn't have anything to do with anything. It would be a shape in there. So I still was, oh, here's one more. Just, you know, just doing it. And when I'd see something like at the bottom, you see that, oh, it kind of looks, not that it drips, but on the other side, it could kind of look like a fence maybe. And then I would kind of emphasize that. I thought, oh, that looks like a fence to a garden. And, you know, I'd go with it. If some shapes came and I'd turn it around, I would paint it one way and make it, turn it sideways, and I'd turn it upside down and every which way, and I'd paint and see what came out, really.
Did you start out with a color story?
I started out, yes, I did. Well, I did start out with colors in mind, kind of, yeah. I'm a big red and pink person. So, you know, I ended up doing a lot of pinks and reds and flowers and purples and stuff. And even when I started the abstract, which I think is coming next. Yeah. And, you know, and then my granddaughter says, you know what, you should probably do something besides pink. I said, oh, should I? Okay.
Just saying, Grandma.
Yeah. Because you know the old saying in painting and professional painting, yeah, I've never seen a bad blue painting, meaning blue painting sell, believe it or not.
That's
So
funny.
if you're thinking of selling, which I wasn't at this point for sure. And I didn't do, let me see, that was 2023. I didn't do Open Studios that year. I didn't, last year was the first year I did it since 2019. So it
Do
was,
you sell just at through your studio, or do you belong to a co-op or a
no, this is just my studio. It's a little 400 square foot. You can see it in the back. It's not very big. That's a painting, or can you see my picture?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a painting an old painting that, well, not really old, but you know, one of my first abstract paintings, and I got it out and I'm repainting it. I'm redoing it because I didn't like it. So this is it. I have my rack back there. I have my display wall on this side. This is my display wall here with, you can see some of those, oh, here's more flowers that I did during that period of time. And then on this side is my working wall. You can see there's a painting that I started in the abstract. That's my.
So are you accessible to the public there or no?
Oh yeah, I mean, I have my front doors right here. There's my window. Yeah, I'm totally accessible by appointment. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so it's a small, there's a bathroom in the back, but it's only 400 square feet. And there's a space right next to me that's the exact same size, and that would be ideal if I had that space, but they won't leave. I've tried to get them to leave. No, I've asked. There was some kind of issue about them moving, and I was like jumping with joy. But that would double my rent, and I would really have to do a lot of teaching to pay for the space. And that's whatever it is. And I'm okay with this for right now. And I might just have to get a little bit of a storage for the large paintings and to ship, because I have some galleries now and I have to do some packaging and shipping. It's hard in here to do that. So if I got a storage unit, I could store the big paintings and package and ship there. That's my thought process, except I have a garage that's full of stuff that if I clean that out, I can use it. So that's what I'm going to try and
I
do.
think we all can kind of relate to this.
Yeah, my car is not in there, believe me.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's go for it. So then I was scrolling through Pinterest one day. I had been following this artist. His name is Robert Zott. he spells his name Szot, and he was a New York painter, abstract painter. And I just loved his work on Pinterest. I saw it on Pinterest. He posted on Pinterest a lot. And so one day I said, oh, I wonder if he has a Instagram account. So I searched for him on Instagram, and sure enough, there it was. And the first post that came up was, I'm giving a workshop in September in LA.
Oh,
I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going. So I found out more about it. It was affordable. It was just like a class every Tuesday from 10 to 1. So I decided I'm going to drive down there every Monday afternoon, and I'm going to get a hotel, and I'm going to go to the class on Tuesday morning. And then after the class is over, I'm just going to drive home. And that's what I did. And so he taught me this layering transparent oil kind of thing, which he doesn't do. His work is a lot different from mine, which is good. That's, not what a teacher wants everybody to do exactly what she does or he does. So you can look him up. His work, it used to be, when I started following him, the work that I liked, the work that he does now isn't my favorite of his. He did some other work, his old work, I liked a little better. But but he taught me a few things. But he, me being a teacher, there was like some things I wanted to teach him, but I kept my mouth shut.
isn't that always the way? Once a teacher, I do the same thing. I need
Like-
to keep my mouth
Like
shut.
the way he treated his brushes. Oh, don't do that to your brushes. Don't do that. Okay, so this is an example of how I start my paintings. And I'm gonna let me see, what if this works? I'm gonna plug in my camera and see if you can see my painting on the wall, which is at this stage. I'm gonna see, can you do that? Does that, oh, that's that. Oh, well then I don't even have to change my, that's okay. I don't need that because I can just change my camera view. So that's the first stage right there.
Okay.
So I start with a little bit of color. I first put on some random lines. They're all random. They're all random black lines on there. And I don't really think, sometimes if I want to do, I have some paintings that you'll see with some circle type stuff on them. If I want to paint something specific like that, then I'll make some circle shapes. Sometimes you can add those circle shapes later if you don't have them at this stage. But this is how you start, just so you have something to start with and not just a blank canvas with shapes of color floating in the air. Because
Right.
it's just some kind of structure, really. It doesn't really mean anything. Although I keep a lot of those lines, they come out in, I save them throughout the painting. And show them sometimes, in the final painting, in the completed painting. So yeah, this is it. This is not the painting that I'm gonna, these two shots I couldn't find in the painting that I'm demoing, that I have the demo things for. So these I put down at the bottom. This is an example, not the actual piece from the March workshop, because I probably forgot to take a photograph of them, because that's the hardest part, remembering to take a photograph. So yeah, so I start off, and and I use I use pure color. I don't even mix my colors.
It's pretty translucent.
Well, what I do is, and you'll see at the end, if I can show that video,
Okay.
you'll see the process. But it is, I put the paint down, and then I wipe it off with a paper. I use those shop towels, those blue
Yeah.
paper towels, yeah. And I wipe it off. And so then this step has to completely dry. And this, I think, is the same step. This is the completed canvas. I'm not completed canvas, but filled in canvas. You can see, I let this part dry. Oh, wait a minute. Is this no, isn't even the same painting. Is it? No, I don't think it is. I don't think this is the same painting. The lines are different. So, but you can tell that I have a little bit of layering in this one.
Right.
And that means that I was at this stage and I let it completely dry before I finished
So
complete.
it doesn't blend.
Yeah, you're right, exactly. Before I completed filling up.
So how long? This is oil. How long does it
It's
take?
oil. So I have a mixture that I use with a medium mixture, and I get quick dry medium. And you can use any, I used to like Galkit a lot, the Galkit Light. and you can, and then you mix it with a little terp. You mix at this for the wiping off part, you mix like 1/3 medium, 2/3 terp, and I keep it in a little jar, like a ketchup bottle, a little
Okay.
bottle, like a ketchup bottle, and then I'll put a few drops in my paint. I keep my paint in these little these are
Oh,
little
yeah.
cups from the dollar store.
Carry out or
Yeah.
takeout cup.
Yeah, or takeout cups, but these are a little bit bigger than takeout cups and sturdier because they're plastic. They're not the clear plastic kind of takeout cups. You can get them at the dollar store, like, I don't know, 7 or 8 of them for $1. And I keep my paint in there, and it's just pure, right from the tube. There are a few colors that I mix, like a light blue. I'll take an ultramarine blue and white to make a light ultramarine blue. But honestly, you can see there's ultramarine blue on this painting. The more you wipe it off, the lighter it's going to become, right? If you don't wipe it off, you don't have to wipe it all off. You can leave some.
That's how you're getting that glaze.
That's how you get the
translucent.
transparency. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. That's how you get the transparency, and it builds up as
Does
the
that
painting.
work with acrylic or no?
I've tried it with acrylic, and I guess if you use enough extender, it could. I think this would lend itself well to watercolor, though.
Right.
So if you watered down the acrylic, maybe, or if you used enough extender, it could work. I haven't experimented that much with it. I've tried it, and I didn't like it because I don't know, you guys. Once you are an oil painter, it's like if you want to blend, it's like you're so frustrated with acrylic. But I will say I've painted some good paintings back in my college days that I had to turn in, and I didn't have time for them to dry, so I'd paint them in acrylic, and that's kind of forced me into acrylic, and I liked the paintings, and it worked. So try it, definitely try it for sure. The water-based oils would probably work perfectly fine here too. And you can see I wanted to talk a little bit about, I don't have a compositional plan. I'm still just putting on shapes of different sizes and shapes, different shapes and sizes and different colors. I don't have even the color plan here. It's every color that, whatever strikes me. I let the painting tell me what I should do next. And there were spots here that I could have cut the white in there. That's just the canvas. I could have covered up a little more, but I didn't. I just left that going. And then
Well, what do you do if you don't like a color or an area? Can you cover it up if it's already then?
Oh yeah, definitely cover it up. Yeah. Well, you'll come to the part where I chose this demo slides because I struggled with this painting really big time. I struggled with it. And this is the next step. It's called the overlay process. And I don't know, can you guys see my picture? Whoops, I'm sorry, I tapped it. I did that by mistake, sorry. You guys can't really see it, can you? Because my picture's in the way. Can you see the writing? Wait a minute, let me come on. I'm sorry, oh, I blew it.
Okay.
It's loading. You would think that
the overlay is also done in thin.
The overlay, I put it on with thinned out paint and I wipe it off. Same process, yes. There we go. So this is starting the overlay. Should I move my picture?
Yeah, if you move it to the left a little bit, we could see the.
Yeah, it's just it's not too much to read there. I can go up here maybe. Nope, it won't let me go up there. Yeah.
You sometimes use color pencil.
Yeah, I look for small areas that I think aren't working that great, or maybe colors that I don't like together. But at this stage, really, I put the paint on in the same way. I wipe it off. Sometimes I will draw the shape, the larger shape with a color pencil. Did I write that on there? I don't know.
Yeah, you did.
And but really, this changes everything, because you can see where I start with the green. Here's a good example right in the middle. That green, all that orange and the warm colors underneath that, or the complementary colors underneath that green are going to be brown.
Yeah,
So you see that now brown is introduced to the painting. If I want to push that color, depending on what you want to do. So there are, it changes.
Millard Sheets worked in watercolor this way.
Yeah,
Glazes.
I don't know,
Complementary
because
colors.
actually in watercolor, you would have to start with the opaque shapes of paint and layer maybe. I don't even know. I don't know. I haven't tried it with the watercolor, but it would be great to have a watercolorist try. Yeah, for sure. So then now you can see this, you can see the lines in there that you can still see from my original, just random lines.
Where's the colored pencil though?
You can see one line of the colored pencil. It's just black. See where the green
Oh,
shape is? Where that center green shape is?
yeah,
I wish I could point to something.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so
actually,
that's a colored pencil.
There's a colored pencil on
Okay.
the outside edge of that, but there might not even be. And there's one over there in the blue. There is a little bit of colored pencil in there.
Okay.
And then here, I decided to, I'm covering up places that I think that I don't really like that much. And I've introduced another color, which is that turquoisey, light turquoisey blue. But you can see where I've saved a little color, that orange underneath the light green, that little reddish color and orange there. Underneath that light green where that loop thing is. God, I wish I could touch this painting. I mean, I wish I could do some kind of, showing you with my finger. Anyway, I saved some of the original color because I think the stuff I like, sometimes I don't, but oftentimes I will save some of that. So I just lay down more. It's just more, like I said in the little script, it's just more information for us to go to the next step. I let this dry.
By now, do you kind of know what colors over the top of your glazing that you get and that you want to achieve, or is it all still kind of like, oh, look what that color?
Yeah, well, at this point, I can predict it. And so it does play a little part in what I do, but not a lot, because my whole thought process is if this doesn't work, I will cover it up. I'm going to cover it up.
It's only a canvas.
Yeah, you really have to have that attitude, because if you don't, and you don't take risks and you don't experiment, you're not going to get anywhere with it.
Exactly.
So I don't pay too much attention to, I don't worry too much about, should I put blue over this orange because it's going to be brown. I don't pay too much attention to that, but I'm aware of it. I said, okay, I'm going to have this brown under here or whatever. Muddy color. Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay.
At this point, are you already thinking about what your focal point might be?
Well, I'm not really, but it doesn't always, but oftentimes it happens that that clean color from underneath kind of dictates the focal point, but I can't remember in this one, and I don't have it out to look at it right now. I can't remember if that's going to be the focal point or not. So at this stage, no. Marie, was that Marie asking?
Yes.
I think I recognized your voice. Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, no, at this stage, I don't worry about a focal point yet, because there's way more to do on this. There's so much more to do on this. It's so many layers. That's the thing that I want to emphasize is this takes so much. I used to paint a painting in 3 hours. Like, I wasn't all a prima painter. I was plein air painter. And the only paintings that took longer than 3 hours were the, 36 by 48s that I used to do. This is such a long process. I have to have at least 4 or 5 paintings going at a time, because I want this to dry, not only the drawing process, but the contemplation process. I sit back and study these paintings for a long time. I have a chair at the opposite side wall, of my working wall. And I sit and contemplate and look at them and see what I can do. And maybe this would work. Maybe I should change that. Maybe I should get rid of that line. And I also take photographs of every step. I try to remember. I don't always remember, but I try to take photographs of every step so I can look at it on my phone when I'm at home and I can actually mark it up with some color. Sometimes I'll do that at home. And that's kind of saved me a little bit of time because I'll do something that I think will help the painting, but I'll do it at home on my phone and it doesn't help the painting at all. So I do that quite a bit, or I just look at it. Mostly I just look at my picture on my phone because it's like it's getting like a once removed from it. It's kind of like looking at it in a mirror. You know how you've been
Yeah.
maybe been taught to look at your painting in the mirror to see what's off. Yeah, it's kind of like that. If you take a picture of it with your phone, then you're once removed from it, so you can see a little more objectively.
I used to leave it in the room and then walk by it and quick look and look away.
Yes, yes, or leave it turned to the wall
Yeah.
and for several days and then look at it suddenly. Yeah, that helps. So, but this one I wanted to just make a point too, that you can see that the white on the right side, the white shape. See, I had the green shape with it and I started blending. So now I'm blending, I blend the green and the white together there. So sometimes I'll do quite a bit of that. I can't remember on this painting if I've done more of that. I think I have, but that's always really fun because I like to blend. But there's the options are it's unlimited. What you can do, what you can figure out, what you can make it your own type thing, you know, right?
Right.
So now I'm okay. So here's this big. You see this big oval shape that's towards the bottom. Now I flipped the canvas, and the oval shape in black is towards the top. And did I do any more? What did I do on this one other than flipping the canvas? I don't know if I did any more painting on it. Let me look. I don't think I did. Oh, yes, I did. I did put some more. I did more of that turquoise blue on the right-hand side and on the top. And I flipped it.
Your pencil around a lot of the shapes too.
And there's a dark, you see some pencils even in the white, that white shape on the right. You can see that little arch, that's a pencil line. Sometimes I'll just outline the shapes. That's all I'll do is just they're already there. And
Yeah.
I'll just outline them, or I'll outline the shapes that are underneath them that I can still see. That now on this one, the white in the top left, that is more dense. I didn't wipe off as much paint closer to the edge. I didn't wipe off as much paint as this one in the right-hand side. You can still see all the shapes underneath that one. So part of the shapes you can see on the top, on the left-hand side, you can see part of those shapes, but not as much as the bottom one. So there is a range of how much paint to wipe off, and you play around with that. And the more the painting progresses, sometimes the less paint you wipe off. So I'm still, I wrote down, I still hate this painting stage. You know, I don't know if you know the stages of painting, but it's like, oh yeah, this is cool. I have a great idea. Go into the studio and you start it. And I like this. I like this. You keep working on it. Oh, I'm not sure about this. And then the next stage is, I hate this painting. And so I'm at that stage right now. I hate this painting. But I keep at it. I don't worry about it. I just keep going. I put some drips in there. I think I'm emphasizing more of the line. Yeah, I think I am here at the top. Adding more shapes. I added another, I have to keep going back. I added that white underneath the blue and next to the blue, I added that. Still at the I hate this painting stage, but I have to wait for this to dry. So while this is drying, we were talking about the total drying thing. So I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. So what I do is I have, like I said, 4 or 5 paintings on my working wall, and they're usually at different stages. I have 4 that are all at the same stage right now, and it's about this stage that says I don't know what to do. I put a fan on them when I leave every day. So I'm here at the studio every day. I would say 99% of the time every day. Even if I don't paint, I come and look. And because this is such a contemplative way to paint.
Yeah.
And so I put a good fan on that blows on it all day, all night. And that helps a lot, because the medium does help. And but the fan helps a lot. It still won't be dry enough after the second day. After just an overnight. It takes 2 overnights for me to be able to work on it again.
Oh,
So
how frustrating.
yeah, so that's not bad though, because I have other ones to work on. So yeah, I'm still not liking the painting. I'm covering up. You can see I covered up some of the drips. I emphasized some more of the line. Let me see what I said. I'm doing a lot of contemplating. Yes, a lot of contemplating because I really want to make this work. This was a demo and I really want this to work, right? I don't know how far along I got in the demo when I teach, because when I teach this process, it's a 4-week workshop and there's no way we can finish these paintings in 4 weeks. So I finish them up after. Yeah, I'm just reading the thing. I brought back some of the lines, added more shapes to see if that helps. And now I'm waiting for it to dry. You can see more pencil line too in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot more pencil line. So now I'm back here. I've brought back some of the drips that I had uncovered and that's what it's all about. It's all about taking away and adding, taking away and adding. That's what this is all about. And if you're afraid of wasting paint, this is not the technique for you because you're taking away and you're adding. Although it's all thin paint. It doesn't take a lot of paint. And the drips I make with a lot of terp and medium, that my terp and medium mixture, that's
What was the name of the medium?
the medium is a quick dry medium. I used to use Galkyd all the time. I like Galkyd. And Galkyd Light, which is the Gamblin quick dry medium, Galkyd Light. And then you use terp. I use odorless terp, but the terp that I use, I don't even use art turpentine, terpenoid. I don't even use that anymore. I just go to the Ace Hardware and I buy a gallon of odorless terp. And that's what I've used for years. Let me see. So yeah, the paint isn't thick. So there is that big difference because I used to use, palette knife painting is a heck a lot of
Oh, yeah.
and I used to use a lot more paint. And I remember telling my students, more paint, you need more paint on there because you shouldn't be able to see the canvas. Well, you can see the texture of the canvas through this. Okay, I'm gonna go back because I just want to see the difference here of what I'm doing. Okay, so I have that half circle thing in the center there. I've done some other shapes and I'm starting to put more pencil in. I've got some dark outline areas that sometimes I'll do that with different colors. I'll outline some of the shapes with different colors. Like this one just happens to be the dark blue.
And you still don't have do you ever think of it like, oh, that looks like a flower, or this is a landscape kind of a thing, or is it just shape and color?
Yeah, no, I don't think in those terms, even though I do think, oh yeah, look at that, it's a person. But I don't think I'm going to develop it as a person.
Gotcha.
Sometimes I will finish a painting and somebody will see it and say, oh, I can see somebody dancing in that. That definitely happens. And but I haven't, there's only one time that I did do that. Actually, you can see them on my website. I have these little 12 by 12 canvases that I did. And I sometimes put black on the outside edge a little bit. And this particular canvas, I put some black on the outside edge and I set it on the floor to dry. And then I had to turn it upside down. Somehow I turned it upside down and I noticed it, and it was a profile portrait, profile of a person. And I had no idea that it was there. So then I thought, oh, I'm going to do some of those. So then I had 4 or 5 of these. Let me show you. I'm sorry I get off on tangents, but this one was like this black, the dark, it's not really black, it's dark blue. It was like underneath, or it was over here or something. But then when I turned it this way, I saw that it was like a profile.
Yeah.
So I had a bunch of these little canvases that I wanted to do for Open Studios. And so I just did them to 3 or 4 other ones. So now, which I think is a really important thing to do, is a series. So now I have a series of these little profile portraits in this technique, which is kind of fun. But the only thing that makes it a profile is the dark that I painted. And I didn't do anything on the inside to make an eye or a nose or anything like that. It's just the shape of the profile and the background I made black. Okay, so I'm still not liking this, but I like it a little bit better, I think. I don't know if I wrote that in here. So now wait, am I flipping this again? Yes, I'm flipping this again.
Oh.
I'm flipping this again and, oh, wait a minute. Oh, yes, I am flipping this again. Sorry. So yeah, so the drips are on the bottom now, and that big curvy line, you can see it now towards the bottom. I put white over that because it was just too much catching the viewer's eye, and it just stuck to, my eye just stuck there. And my whole goal, right, and I think any artist's goal should be in a painting, is for the viewer to enter the painting and then move around it.
Right.
You don't want just it should go around clockwise.
No bullseyes.
Yeah, you don't want a bullseye type thing. And honestly, I had a student once who told me she studied something, advertising, I think, and she said, when a viewer looks at a painting, the last thing they see is the bottom right-hand corner. So you should always sign your painting there. So I started signing my painting, and now all my paintings are signed in the bottom right-hand corner, just because I'm a fanatic for that kind of thing. So yeah, so this is a little better. I think I'm liking it a little more. I've made some changes. I covered up the white drips again. I covered up some of that curly little line there, but still not at a place where I love it. But again, I'm going to let this dry. So this has been, several weeks here, going back and forth on this. More, I like that I got rid of that curvy line, the area. You can see that bright orange red that was original that I was talking about.
Yeah.
That looks like it's going to end up, definitely looks like it's going to end up being the focal point area. Yeah, I call it a dance. It's just a back and forth that I try and, I know it sounds stupid, but try and let the painting tell you what it needs, and this kind of thing, you have to. There it is. I finally liked it. I brought out more of the green, which let me go back.
It lit it up.
It lit it up, didn't it? Because I got rid of some of that muddier color in the center. Nope, that's still there. I don't know what I did, but I put some over the white. Oh, I put some of that. That's why it's so light, because that green is over the white, and it made it nice and bright and light. And then I added more pencil line. You can see that.
And shapes within the darker shapes.
The what? I'm sorry.
You have a lot more shapes within the darker shapes.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and I put a lot more. And I put the dark. You can see on the bottom left-hand corner, I put the dark there around. 3 of those corners have dark paint. It kind of shapes it a little bit. It gives it some kind of form. I don't know. I like it.
Kind of pushes you into the center.
Yeah. And then that white shape that was towards the top, which you can see it up here with just a little orange and the reddish orange in it, I put a bunch of color back into that, which was mostly the color that was underneath it. I could see it, and I brought it back out a little more. Yeah, so that was that. And then I framed it.
It must be super hard to decide when it's done.
Well, you know what? I'm so indecisive anyway. It is hard for me. It's hard for me to make decisions. But the thing that I do is, if nothing bothers me about the painting, if something isn't saying, oh God, that's just not right, or, if something's not bugging me about it, then I'll say, okay, that can be done. But that doesn't mean I'm going to be done, because if this painting stays in my studio too long, I might work on it again.
Even now?
Yeah, even now, I mean, because this is not a real frame. It's not framed. This is a virtual scene here, this bottom one. But if it sits in there, you never know. I might get another wild idea, like that one right here, like this one behind me, that big painting. That's like a 3838 back there. And I just hated it. And I hated that for a long time now, even right after it was done. So I'm working on it some more.
Is there something that you go, that is the best one, or I really love that one?
Oh, yeah.
What is that thing that you go, oh, that's it?
I did it. I got my masterpiece.
Yeah.
I think it's really one of those just personal preferences, because I'll try and tell. Well, like even during Open Studios, people ask me all the time, what's your favorite one? And it doesn't speak to them the way it speaks to me. Even my granddaughter, who is we're really good friends. She lives with me. She's 30. She's a potter, so she's an artist. She also draws a lot and does tattoo designs. Even her, I'll say, look at this painting, isn't it great? She goes, oh yeah, okay, yeah, it's okay. So
Sounds like my husband. Yeah, I don't like that one.
yeah. Oh, I've had that. My husband and I was married for 40 years, and every painting he saw of mine, he said, oh, I like some of your other stuff better. Honestly, this was like for years. Finally, I asked him one day, what other stuff do you like better than this? He goes, like the portrait you did of my mother. I said, oh, okay, that's the other stuff, your mom. Yeah, it was funny. Anyway, yes, I do have favorite paintings for sure. And some paintings I know are really good, better paintings than others,
Right.
That's all there is to it. So
Well, do you go back to composition and all that stuff when you're
yeah,
painting?
definitely. I go back to composition. And like I talked about before, my edges are important. I saw a nice combination of hard and soft edges, blended and hard edges. And you can see I did in this painting more opaque. You see some of those shapes. I had that. I like to be. I don't like to be. I always like to have an element of surprise. I don't like to be symmetrical. I don't like to have it predictable.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that lends itself well to a lot of variations of opposites. So I want to put in some opaque paint. I want to put in some brush strokes. A lot of these paintings I'll go in with brush strokes that you can see, because so much of this is just wiped off. You can't see the brush strokes, right?
Right.
This painting doesn't have it, but I'll go back in with quite a few brush strokes in some of my paintings, because that was my thing too. I loved messy brush strokes.
And especially when you went into the palette knife, that leaves a lot of marks.
Yeah, exactly. So I have tried this with palette knife, and don't try it.
Yeah,
it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Well, is that why you go back there with the pencil, just for marks?
Yeah, kind of to yeah, it's a good point. And I had a little Instagram video that I made and I was talking about why I do it. And I think it's to add a little chaos.
Yeah.
And to because it's just me. It's just my personality. I don't like the perfection of something.
Well, and like you said, to keep the viewer in the painting, when there's not quite invisible marks, brushes or pens or a color change, you go like, oh, I didn't see that one when I first looked.
Right. So it draws the viewer in, and it adds some interest and captivates sometimes. Hopefully captivates. So do we have time to look at a couple really short videos?
Where we got about 5 minutes.
Okay, let's look at some because let me see the videos right here, because this shows you exactly how I do it, which is this is the first few layers. So let's just watch that. So I'm putting down, we're already on layer 3. I made this for Instagram. That's why it's kind of fast, but you can see how I do it and wipe it off. Okay, that's one. Let's go to the next one, because one of these will show me wiping it off a little more.
And you just use a rag,
I use one of those shop towels, and you can see I'm showing the camera the white paint, and I'm thinking about where I want to put the shape. And I just go, you don't even have to put this much paint on. I put more paint on than I need to. I do it because I like to have the options, because, I might want to leave it on thick or thicker in some areas.
Right.
So a lot of that is, but you don't have to leave it on. So use so much paint. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. And I'm doing a few colors at a time, which I don't usually do. I usually wipe off one color and then put the.
And so this is on your Instagram or your YouTube?
These are all on my Instagram account, yeah, which is Barbara_Bailey Porter. Yeah, so that's how I wipe it off.
Yeah, how do you keep from going very quickly?
Yeah, I'm pretty, I've got the paper towel thing down. Now I'm fixing the edge there. I fold it up
Yeah, yeah,
and I'm frugal. I use it as the paper towel as much as I can. I fold it over, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, let me go to the next one real quick. Um, Again, this is only a few seconds. Another layer that I just put on and wipe off. Yeah, you saw that thing that said see previous posts. Yeah, I have I think I have 10 or 11 layers. Now I'm picking up the pencil. I wanted to show the people. I'm probably talking or writing something. There's a couple colored pencils that I'm using, or the brands that I use. They're both just black. And you can see already I use the colored pencils.
Yeah.
So I don't have really too much to add to this. You see, I added some of them outside a new shape, but mostly what I'm going to do here is just outline the shapes I already have and not stick to the perfect outline, but kind of just mess it up a little bit. But this is all dry. All the paint's dry. You can use some of these colored pencils with wet paint. I have done that before. And that works too sometimes. It depends on the color pencil. So now I have yeah, more line, and now we're here.
This one does not have as much of your hard black line.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. That other painting had a lot of black in it, or the dark in it. It's not really black, but it's blue and dark color, dark mixture. Yeah.
You don't necessarily always start with that big heavy line.
Oh yeah, that line. That's right. I forgot about that. You know, I don't know if I did that or not on this. I think I probably did. I'm not
You ever
sure.
do it in pencil?
I haven't done it in pencil, but you can do it in pencil. I usually like to incorporate it into the final painting, but this one looks like, yeah, you're right, Jolene. I don't think I did. I might not have even used the black on this one because, well, the first video didn't have it. So no, I didn't use the black line, which is watered down acrylic paint, by the way. I don't know if I even said that. The
No.
black line is watered down, very watered down acrylic paint. Don't use it real thick at all. Water it down, like almost like watercolor. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to cover it up if you want to cover it up.
Oh, I
You can
see.
always bring it out with oil paint, but you can't cover it up if it's too thick and too dark. I'm going to speed this up. Yeah, and then I just wipe these all off. Sometimes I leave an edge. You can see the paint. I don't wipe all the way off of the edge. I kind of leave it for just to be different. And then I think there's just one more here. Oh no, that was the last one. Yeah, because here's the first one. There is no black line. Oh,
No.
it looks like
pencil. It was pencil.
there was pencil. I drew, you know what I did on this? I just drew some shapes on. So there's a different thing you can do. Yeah, just draw some shapes on it.
Yeah.
And start that way for sure. Okay.
Well, thank you very much for this.
Yeah.
Was very fun. I do watercolor, so now I'm going to go try this with watercolor.
Yeah, I would
I
like
won't have to wait days.
yes, exactly. I would like to hear your results and see if you get it,
Okay, I'll send you a picture.
how it works. Yeah. Okay.
And thank everybody for tuning in. And we'll get this. Our web person is in Hawaii. Too bad. So this will be a few days before she posts this on the YouTube channel, but it'll be up there in the Central
Great.
Coast Art Association, and then you can connect to it or rewatch it and share it with everybody. And
Great.
Thanks. This was great.
join Barbara.
Yeah,
Oops.
thank you so much. It was
You're
really,
welcome.
really interesting.
You're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Oh, and I should promote myself a little bit. Yeah,
Oh.
sign up for my email newsletter. I don't like to call it a newsletter. I just call it, happenings in the studio or something. And you can go on my website and do that, baileyporter.com.